Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Live ba si Secboy, Giselle?
Yeah, I think so. He's been really, he's so looking forward to it. He's prepared a lot for it. His sisters and daughter are invited to attend.
Oh, great.
So I hope, they will be in the plenary room. I'm sorry, in the panelist room, so we can turn on their videos and, have a photo. Yeah. So, Mario, we need to be allowed the multiple sharing because we will be, giving the introduction and so host disabled the participant screen sharing. So Mario, we're not allowed to share yet. Okay. Well, I'll be back in a minute.
I'm not the one controlling the webinar.
Yeah,
It's
so
a
who
tech
is
staff,
it?
so I
It's
will.
Richmond, I think. It's Richmond.
No.
It's John. Yeah.
No,
Is it John?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's getting everyone in.
Ay, nandiyan na si Secretary.
Hi, Alvin. Good morning.
Morning, sir. Morning.
Hi, good morning, Secretary Boy.
Hi, good morning, Giselle.
Until late
Good
last
morning,
night.
sir. Good morning, Sec Boy.
Good morning, Tech Boy.
Morning.
So I hope members of your family can attend, Sec Boy.
I think they will be joining.
That's so great. Yes.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Secretary.
Good morning, Dr. Lansigan.
Good morning po.
I will request assistance for my PowerPoint. So I will just indicate when to turn to the next page.
So we are in the practice session. So VP Mario, would you like to do that or should I do it? So we have copies of all of us have copies of your slides, Sec Boy.
Hi, Dr. Sel.
Yes.
Elmer,
There
take
is
care of the PowerPoint.
Yes, sir.
all
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Mhm.
Yeah, yes, Elmer Pandanan will be sharing a screen for Sec Boy and controlling the slides.
Yeah.
Sec Boy also shared the link, the registration link with the OST through Elmer and Lenny. So I hope so.
They were already made part of this. Yeah, everyone has to accept. Those who were sent the link should register and accept. Yeah.
Wait, the mic. Set up the mic. Wait. I thought you were going to set that up. We need to look at the cursor here, and then don't look at the screen. You have to look at that because it's the second thing. Look at the cursor here. You can win this. Do you know how to get? This
All of the recordings of the sessions will be posted on the PASA website after the meeting ends. So our webmaster, Richmond Pancho, will be taking care of that. So there are many parallel sessions, that of course we could not attend because we are speakers in our respective sessions, in our recs, but there were excellent talks in many of the parallel sessions.
Enter tayo kape.
Secretary, I already sent last night the link to your daughter and sisters.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So I see Al Sarafika in the attendees list, but Al is a discussant at the RTD later. Mario?
I think Dr. Giselle, they can upgrade him later in the webinar. That's what they advised me also before, because I'm also on the panel.
Yes, that's right, Richard. But yeah.
I know. Better be sure early, but yes.
Sure.
We have time. At least for the panel.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't know.
Can you hear me well? Just a sound test.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start in a minute or two.
Okay.
Hello, Richard.
Hi, Sec Boy. Good morning. Would have been fun, Giselle, if we were all in Baltimore, right?
Yeah. It looks like they're having great fun.
Yeah.
So I listened to Rosalie Hall 2 nights ago. So she's one of 2 who made it there. And wow, she gave them a flavor of what's really happening here. So she talked about the COVID management in Iloilo City. Yes.
Now on mute. There we go.
We can start now. Thank you.
Okay. Good day to all, wherever you may be. Good morning in the Philippines. Good evening in Baltimore, USA. I hope you have a sumptuous dinner this evening. Yours truly is Ino Lansigan, Professor Emeritus at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, and a member of the Board of Directors of ASE. I will be your host for this evening's session. Welcome to this particular session. As you all know, PASE works with its very energetic and cooperative officers and members, particularly our very active superwoman, President Giselle. It also operates with a number of partners. One of the key partners of PASE is the USAID STRIDE, which stands for Science, Technology, Research, and Innovation for Development. It is a USAID-funded project enabling innovation to drive economic growth in the Philippines. It is also our generous sponsor for this particular third night's evening sessions. USAID STRIDE is represented here by its Chief of Party, Dr. Richard Abendan, who is also a PASE member. Dr. Abendan has an academic and professional background in chemistry. He is known for his skills in project management, scientific research and product development, and also building networks among stakeholders. As Chief of Party for STRIDE, Dr. Abendan works with the government and the private sector to maximize the impact of science and technology to the growth trajectory of the Philippines. At this point, may I invite Dr. Richard Abendan for his message. Dr. Abendan, the virtual floor is yours. Take it away.
Thanks, Ino. First, some acknowledgements to DOST Secretary Boy de la Peña, DOST Undersecretary Rowena Cristina Guevara, former NEDA Secretary Ernesto Pernia, the leadership of PASE, headed by President Giselle Concepcion and Chairperson Margaret Peña, distinguished guests, members, and friends from PASE. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to everyone in Baltimore and throughout the US, and good morning to everyone attending virtually from the Philippines. It is with great pride that the United States Agency for International Development, Science, Technology, Research, and Innovation for Development, or STRIDE program, is supporting PASE in this final plenary session of the 41st Annual PASE Meeting and Symposium. The partnership between STRIDE and PASE was formalized with an MOU just in February this year, but the collaboration with PASE started since the STRIDE project began in 2013. I would like to thank PASE and its members who have joined STRIDE events, delivered training courses, or have been part of a visiting faculty program throughout the years. Very recently, STRIDE launched not one, but 2 centers offering trainings in the soft skills of doing research. We call them START centers, the concept of which was initially developed by longtime PASE leader, Dr. Manny Uy, when Manny was with STRIDE just a few years ago. I see Manny's in Baltimore right now. My longtime mentor. These START centers are now hosted by both DLSU and University of the Philippines. In just a few months since their launch, these centers have already offered 4 courses and trained over 100 faculty and researchers. I'm mentioning the START Center this morning because PASE members are helping grow these centers, with Dr. Raymond Tan at DLSU and Dr. CP David at UP guiding the pilot courses. And through Dr. Aiza, we will seek more PASE members to help develop and deliver more courses in the coming months. We at the STRIDE program share a common goal with PASE and another close partner in our keynote guest today, the Department of Science and Technology. And this is to nurture a robust innovation ecosystem that sustainably enables advancements in science and engineering to impact Filipino lives. I use the word sustainability in this ecosystem, and towards this goal, I would like to highlight a key feature of our collaboration with DOST, and this on policy and communications, focusing on expressing the contributions of science and technology and research towards the Philippine economy. These efforts aim to raise public awareness and enable policymakers to increase and institutionalize resources for research and development going forward. Over the last 8 years of STRIDE partners has partnered with government, academic, and industry partners. It is apparent there are so many innovation champions who generally want the Philippines to reap the economic benefits of innovation. We've heard of MSMEs, how they have benefited from regional inclusive innovation centers and other programs of DOST and DETI. We've met with industry association leaders who are encouraging their members to harness technologies to become more competitive. And we've witnessed how Philippine HEIs have committed their faculty and to mentor local industries who are trying to recover from the impacts of the pandemic. These are clear signs that the Philippine innovation ecosystem is indeed getting stronger. But I think we also accept that there is indeed more work to be done. Innovation-driven economies require sustained long-term investments and supportive policies. Even the United States, as some of you may have seen in the news, is still considering new legislation on increased spending on innovation. And this is why we are glad to partner on this session on charting the course of the Philippine S&T innovation ecosystem for the next decade. As we hopefully soon emerge from the pandemic, we now have the challenge of refocusing the innovation ecosystem such that it can put the Philippines on a steeper growth path of economic recovery. This year, we are celebrating the 75th anniversary of US-Philippines diplomatic relations, as well as 60 years of USAID being a partner of development in the Philippines. We are also in the final year of STRIDE, which ends July next year. Through these significant milestones, I wish to again thank all of the innovation champions here, many of which have become friends, that have been with STRIDE on this journey in the past 8 years. I hope together we have laid enough groundwork to sustain future efforts towards innovation-led growth in the Philippines. I look forward to the great conversations and ideas from this plenary. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Abendan, for your enlightening message and your active leadership of STRIDE. We are hoping that the USAID STRIDE will continue to be an active partner of PAASE, even beyond its project life. So thank you very much, Dr. Abendan, and more power to you. The third night of the PAASE 41st APAM is another special occasion. PAASE would like to recognize and honor its leading partners and staunch supporters during the past years. Now, at this point in time, let me first acknowledge the presence of the guest of our keynote speaker. May recognize the following guests who are in the room. Ms. Margarita de la Peña, the daughter of Secretary Fortunato de la Peña. Ma'am. Ms. Rosario de la Peña, the sister of Secretary, and Mrs. Minda de la Peña Onteco, sister of Secretary de la Peña. Welcome, ma'am, to our PAASE APAMS. We are glad that you were able to make it even during the last minute of notice. Thank you very much. At this point, PAASE President Giselle Concepcion will now read and present the PAASE Presidential Citation to our active and very supportive members of PAASE. President Giselle, you now have the virtual floor.
It's not yet that slide, please. Yeah, we're showing that slide later. Yeah.
President Giselle.
Please unmute.
We're waiting for your slide, but I'm ready to read the citation of the award of Secretary de la Peña after the introduction.
Okay, at this point, let me first introduce our keynote speaker and honoree for tonight. It is indeed a great pleasure and honor for me to be given the task of introducing our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker and honoree is an outstanding engineer, a distinguished professor, and a committed civil servant. He is currently the Secretary of the Department of Science and Technology, or DOST, of the Philippines. He earned his Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering degree from the University of the Philippines and later obtained his master's degree in industrial engineering, and also his doctorate in business administration, also from UP. He joined the faculty of the UP College of Engineering in 1978, where he served as professor until retirement. He has served UP in various capacities. He was appointed director of the UP Institute for Small-Scale Industries in 1992. And from 1993 to 1999, he assumed the position of Vice President for Planning and Development of the UP system. He also served as President of the Philippine Association for the Advancement of Science and Technology. In 2002, he was elected as President of the National Research Council of the Philippines, or NRCP, and he is considered also the long-serving President of NRCP. He was appointed Executive Director of the Congressional Committee on Science and Technology and Engineering, or COMSTE, in 1982. He was seconded to the then National Science and Technology Authority, or NSTA at the time, which later became the Department of Science and Technology, or DOST as we know it now. As head of the Planning Service, then as Director of Technology Application and Promotion Institute, and an Undersecretary for Scientific and Technical Services from 2001 to 2014, after which he retired after his retirement, he was appointed in 2016 as the DOST Secretary. Some of the prestigious awards and recognition he received are the UP Outstanding Achievement Award, the Dangal ng Bayan Award from the Civil Service Commission, the Outstanding Career Executive Officer from the Career Executive Service Board, and the Outstanding Professional Award from the Professional Regulations Commission, among others. In 2018, the University of the Philippines conferred on him the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa. Indeed, our keynote speaker has shown through transformative and distinguished leadership his lifelong commitment and support to the development and promotion of science and technology, research, innovation, and education in the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, let's now listen and give a warm round of applause to the very supportive, energetic Secretary of the Department of Science and Technology, Dr. Fortunato T. de la Peña.
Thank
Sir?
you. Thank you very much, Dr. Lansigan, and a pleasant evening to everyone who are in the US, and good morning to everyone who are in the Philippines. First of all, I would like to, I wanted to greet everybody, but let me just cite some names. Of course, the very active President, Dr. Giselle Concepcion, to Dr. Mario Santo Domingo, who has been communicating with me in preparing for this event. Of course, to Dr. Lansigan, our chair today, and the first one who spoke, who is very active in the USAID program, assisting us, Dr. Richard Abendan, and all the rest. Good morning, good evening. I'm very happy to be here at the 41st APAMS of PAASE. I also am very happy that I'm joined by my immediate family members, my daughter, Dr. Margarita de la Peña, and my sisters, Rosario and Minda. Actually, I would have wanted to go to Baltimore, but travel restrictions make it very difficult. Maybe I should mention, my wife used to work as a nurse in Baltimore until I told her to come home to marry me. Anyway, just a correction. I did take my DBA at UP, but actually I did not finish it. Okay, so just to correct. Now, I have actually been appointed secretary in 2016, and it was really unexpected. Uh, Maybe Dr. Peña would attest to this. Ernie, we were together in the airplane with Secretary Briones and Ben Jokno and Judy Tagiwalo when we were asked to go to Davao. I thought it was an interview, but it turned out that it was already an announcement that we were appointed. And as soon as I get back, that was a Friday. I got back over the weekend, and I got a message from President Giselle telling me that they would appreciate a meeting with me, and I really look forward to that because I know I can get a lot of advice from Giselle and from Ernie Pernia. And so we had a short meeting. We had a meeting at the Quezon Hall, and I was really pleasantly surprised that what I had in mind actually jibed with what they had suggested. The strategies, particularly on inclusive and sustainable development that I am presenting here, are actually based on those suggestions. And we really took it seriously. I think Yusek Rowena Guevara is here also, and she can attest to the fact that we really took the matter of inclusive and sustainable development very, very seriously, and it can be reflected in our program. So let me begin my presentation. Next slide, please. Well, when this administration took over, the president announced a 10-point socioeconomic agenda, and it actually included 4 items where I immediately thought science and technology could contribute significantly. And these were the items on global competitiveness, on higher value added for rural enterprises in the supply chain, world-class human resources, and the promotion of science and technology and the creative arts for innovation towards inclusive development. Actually, the last one was really innovative. That was the first time I saw science and technology and the creative arts in one statement. Next slide, please. So based on those points, we developed our own DOST 11-point agenda. Half of these are really on research and development, and so you will see later on that my presentation is highly focused on R&D. So pursue R&D to address national problems, to conduct R&D to enhance productivity and improve the management of resources, to engage in R&D to generate and apply new knowledge and technologies across sectors. Here is where the emerging technologies will come in. Strengthen and utilize regional R&D capability. When I say regional, this will be the regions outside of Metro Manila and the other metropolitan cities. Strengthen and utilize. Okay. Number 5 is maximize the utilization of R&D results through technology transfer and commercialization. This was in response to a, shall we say, a criticism that we are doing R&D, but they do not see the transfer of R&D outcomes. The development of human resources in science, technology, and innovation, and the building of a strong science, technology, and innovation culture. Upgrading of our STI facilities and capacities to advance R&D activities and to expand our scientific and technical services. To expand the STI assistance to communities and the production sector, particularly MSMEs, and this is very important in the inclusiveness goal. Provide STI-based solutions for disaster risk and climate change adaptation and mitigation. To strengthen industry, academic, government, and international STI collaboration, and to enhance effectiveness of STI governance. I remember very well the very, shall we say, strong advice of Giselle and Dr. Peña on item 10, strengthening industry, academic, government, and international collaboration. Next slide, please. Now, from that, DOST adopted the tagline, Science for the People, which we can translate as Science and Technology for Inclusive and Sustainable Development, the title of my presentation today. Next slide, please. What policies and strategies were put into place? First of all, we saw to it that there was widespread participation in the formulation of the National Harmonized Research and Development Agenda. This was a requirement, okay, that the research and development agenda, the National Research and Development Agenda, should be approved by NEDA, which means that it should be approved by the cabinet. And so immediately after the takeover of this administration, committees were created to actually to formulate the Philippine Development Plan. Okay, and of course we wanted the research and development agenda to be approved almost at the same time as the Philippine Development Plan. Now, in the case of the Philippine Development Plan, initially committees were created. We noticed that there was no Science and Technology and Innovation Committee among those that were created. So 3 months later, belatedly, we received notice that they are creating a Science, Technology and Innovation Committee, and there will be a Science, Technology and Innovation chapter in the Philippine Development Plan. Now, the research and development agenda, of course, covers all sectors, but there is prioritization within each sector. So we have agriculture, aquatic, natural resources, we have health, we have industry, energy, and the emerging technologies, we have basic research, and we have disaster risk reduction and management and climate change adaptation. Next slide, please. What policies and strategies were put into place? This is not really an exhaustive listing, but first of all, the policy that R&D should be done by more scientists, researchers, institutions, enterprises from different regions of the country. At the time when we came in 2016, we noticed that the grants in aid for research and development was focused basically in the National Capital Region institutions, that of Region 3 and Region 4A or Calabarzon. Okay, about 83% of the grants in aid for research went to those three regions, and the remaining small percentage was distributed among the other regions. Now, we also stated that the scientists, researchers, institutions, or enterprises should be capacitated to be able to participate, and that research towards innovations should be encouraged at all levels. Okay, students, professionals, workers at the shop floor, and even the communities at the grassroots, with no discrimination as to age, gender, and beliefs. Next slide, please. Now, what programs were introduced or used to put into action the adopted policies and strategies? Actually, in the enumeration here, some are new, but many are already existing. And that is one thing that I think is good in our science and technology community, or in the Department of Science and Technology. While in other departments or agencies, there is usually a very major change, okay, in the programs when a new leader takes over. In the case of POST, there is a continuity as far as the, shall we say, major programs are concerned. So here, Science for Change is actually a new program, and I have to thank Yusek Guevara for helping me out in this, because this is our formula for inclusive and sustainable development. We have the Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program, which started way back in 2003, and has been helping our micro, small, and medium enterprises very significantly. The community empowerment through science and technology, which is addressing the needs of the marginalized sectors. And this was started sometime in early 2010. And we have adopted two new programs here with some interesting initials. IFWDPH, we call it I Forward Philippines, which simply means innovations for Filipinos working distantly from the Philippines. This is actually our program for the overseas Filipino workers who decided to return to the country, either because they are forced to or whether they do it voluntarily. And so we have implemented a program where they can start technology-based micro enterprises. Then we have iStart, which is a program which I think among the audience here, Dr. Alvin Kulaba is very familiar with, because this is actually a strategy for incorporating science and technology in regional planning. Then we have the DOST local government unit partnership. This has been going on, but we strengthened it during this term. Then we have the upgrading, expansion, addition, and networking of S&T facilities. This is something we are proud of. We really added many new facilities which are state of the art and indeed very necessary if we are to carry out our goal of doing R&D that can be globally competitive. We have the technology business incubation and startup assistance. Again, has been an ongoing program. The scholarships ongoing but has been expanded. And the goal here is to have easier access for those who are enjoying the scholarship. We have the Balik Scientist program, which of course we pushed to have a law. And in 2018, we got the Balik Scientist Act approved by the legislature and signed by the president. And it has really helped us a lot. And of course, the risk reduction and disaster preparedness programs. Next slide, please. This is a continuation of what programs were introduced or used to put into action the adopted policies and strategies. An already ongoing program is the Technology Innovation for Commercialization, which is our response to the bridging, okay, of the gap between R&D completion and commercialization. Of course, we ventured now into partnerships with national agencies, and we realized that we can really enlarge our resources by really partnering with them. And I would like to mention that in the past it has been the Department of Health which has really been a partner in terms of contributing resources for R&D. But this time we have expanded that listing, the Public Works Department, the Energy Department, the Natural Resources Environment Department have been contributing now to our R&D. Then we have the international collaboration. And our direction here was to target, okay, refine, and identify which countries and multilateral organizations we will collaborate, and we will specify this based on the strengths, okay, and the potential benefits that we can get. We narrowed down our target to have 20 bilateral collaboration, because every partnership requires resources, and we can only afford so much. We have the internal human resource capability build up for our own agencies at the OST, the upgrading in terms of academic degrees and training. Of course, very important is the information, education, communication programs. You probably will be surprised to know that when we came in 2016, the awareness level of Filipinos for DOST and the science and technology community was only at 6%. Only 6% of our fellow Filipinos knew what DOST was and what DOST is, and about the S&T community. Slowly, this has gone up. It went up to 12 to 13%. It went up to 16%. It went up to 23%, and we are now at the 25% level. But we still hope that before the end of this administration, the awareness level for science and technology and for DOST will still go up. And then to remedy our problem about hiring our graduated PhDs, okay, in science and technology, engineering and mathematics, you know, we have really increased the number of scholarship slots for both undergraduate, graduate, up to PhD scholarships. But the problem is when they graduate, there are no so-called plantilla positions in government, whether in the state universities or in the research and development institutions. And the same is true in the private sector. There are very few companies in the Philippines which are actually doing their own R&D in our country. Even the multilateral or the multinational corporations are doing their R&D at their home base. We have so adapted the S&T Fellows program, wherein we can take in our graduated scholars in the advanced degrees, put them to work in specific programs or projects and institutions, particularly on R&D, and giving them actually a maximum 5-year contract. Okay, so this can be reduced from year to year, but for a maximum of 5 years, and they get a higher pay than the usual government employee. And we have, of course, the legislative advocacy, which, of course, have worked in our favor when the Balik Scientist Act was signed, when the Philippine Space Agency Act was signed, and which we are hoping will work for us in our efforts to enact a number of legislations, which, of course, includes the Science for Change Bill and the Virology and Vaccine Institute Bill. Next slide, please. Now, we start, I will not go into detail in all of those enumerated programs, but I picked those that are new, of course, and those where we have shown a significant expansion and contribution. The Science for Change program is our response for the goal of being more inclusive and sustainable in the area of R&D, of having a stronger collaboration between industry and academia and the research institutions, and of course, sharing or building up the capability of our research institutions outside of the Metro Manila area and the other urban centers. So the Science for Change program was created to accelerate science, technology, and innovation, to keep up with the developments in our time, wherein technology and innovations are game changers. Through this Science for Change program, the DOST can significantly accelerate science, technology, and innovation in the country and create a massive increase in investment on S&T and human resource development and R&D. This is what we are pushing for in the Science for Change bill, because in that bill, we would like to see a provision that the investments in R&D will increase from year to year until at least we meet the minimum requirement or the minimum standard for developing countries set by UNESCO. So we have components which are, number one, the niche centers in the regions for R&D or the NICER program, the R&D leadership or RD lead program, the collaborative R&D to leverage the Philippine economy or PH or Cradle program, and the business innovation through SMT or BIST for industry program. Okay. I have a message here, signed out. Ano ba ito? You have been signed out because you are currently signed in on another device. Huwag mo ko ilagay dyan. Okay. Huwag mo ko ilagay dyan.
No, we can still hear you. You're fine.
Ah, you can still hear me. Okay, so okay. Now next slide, please. Yes, okay, now here are examples of the so-called niche research centers. We have now 38 as of September 15, but I just want you to have a glimpse of how they look like. Now, the first, the initial centers that were approved for support by DOST and have been established were mostly in the agriculture and life sciences sector. It has been only last 2 years where we went into the health and engineering industry sectors. Take a look at the examples. They are actually focused on very narrow areas, but we want to make sure that they are very good in these areas. Okay, and we really evaluated, okay, their capabilities, their initial capabilities, and to see to it that they can do it and that we can help in strengthening them. So we have the Citrus Research Center in Nueva Vizcaya State University, the Multi-Species Freshwater Fish Center, which includes freshwater eel and ludong, which is a very expensive fish, Isabela State University, the Sweet Potato R&D Center in Tarlac, the Tamarind R&D Center in Pampanga. This is very unique, you know. They have developed hybrids, okay, wherein you needn't worry about climbing the tree anymore because these are relatively low or dwarf trees where you can pick the tamarind fruits just by without needing any assistance. Okay, and the local government there made sure that this is supported. So in Magalang, you cannot get a business permit, and I heard that you cannot also get a marriage license if you do not plant a tamarind tree. Okay. We have the Native Pigs Center in Marinduque State College. We have the Eastern Visayas Center for Crustaceans in Samar State University. We have the Cebu Island Biodiversity Assessment Center in Cebu Technological University, the Industrial Tree Plantation R&D Center in Caraga, in Butuan City, the Sea Cucumber R&D Center at MSU in Naawan, the Seaweeds R&D Center in Mindanao State University in Tawi-Tawi. So maybe for those of you who left the country many years ago, you probably have not even heard about this universities. Next slide, please. Except MSU, of course. Then, so we have already 38. We have invested 1.89 billion, and it's spread across 12 regions of the country. Okay, there are still regions which do not have niche research centers. Next slide, please. Now, here are the new nicer centers which we launched last October 8, just 3 days ago. The Center for Vector Diseases of Public Health at De La Salle University, Manila. The Center for Advanced Batteries at the Technological Institute of the Philippines, actually in tandem with University of the Philippines, Diliman. The Center for Sustainable Polymers at MSU, Iligan. The Smart Water Infrastructure Management Research Development Center in Isabela State University. The Coastal Engineering Research Center in Mariano Marcos State University in Ilocos Norte, the Center for Environmental Technologies and Compliance at the PUP in Manila, the Center for Lake Sustainable Development at the Laguna State Polytechnic University, the Integrated Protein Research and Development Center at Ateneo, the Biomaterials for Diagnostics and Therapeutics R&D Center at the Angeles University Foundation in Pampanga, the Neuro Robotics Technology Center at De La Salle Medical and Health Sciences Institute. Next slide, please. So we are supporting also this strengthening of research institutions in the regions through our RD Lead program, where we are deploying R&D experts to help them in strengthening the research capabilities. It's like a Balik Scientist program, but the scientists fielded are of course based in the Philippines. You know? So we have fielded already 47 RD leaders to 44 host institutions. Some of them stay there for 6 months. Okay, parang medium term stay. Next slide, please. Then we have, of course, the business innovation through S&T for Industry. This program aims to facilitate the acquisition of strategic and relevant technologies by Filipino companies for their own R&D. Unlike the 3 other components, which are assisted by grants, this is not a grant. They have to repay it. Okay? In the same way that the companies are repaying what we are advancing in the Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program. So far, we have 3 approved projects. Herbanex, which is producing herbal medicines. Biosets, which is into animal health. And Nanotronics, which is on nanotechnology or nanomaterials. Next slide, please. And then we have the collaborative R&D. This is between industry and the academy mainly. So the companies define their R&D needs or the innovations that they want to have, whether in terms of product, process, or technology. They choose the university with whom they will work, and we give them a contribution to carry out the R&D. So far, we have 73 approved projects in 10 regions, and later on, maybe we Yusek Geb can give the details of this Cradle program. Next slide, please. So apart from Science for Change in all regions of the country, outside of the research institutions, outside of academia, innovation, technology improvement, and technopreneurship and community empowerment to science and technology takes place through the following DOST programs. Some are already existing many years ago, and some are new. The Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program, Community Empowerment to Science and Technology Program. The new ones are the ones for the OFWs and for the LGU heads. Okay, I forward for OFWs. I start for governance at the provincial level, and then we have the DOST local government unit partnerships, and this has been very helpful for the communities in the rural areas, okay, particularly in terms of actual technology-based production. Next slide, please. We have in the small enterprise technology upgrading, we assist between 700 to 800 firms a year. In the community empowerment to science and technology, many of them actually are indigenous communities, 60 to 70 communities per year. In the OFWs, because we are screening them very strictly, target is 150 for 2021. And in terms of the assistance to provinces, 20 provinces. And these were identified by the School of Urban and Regional Planning through a research that we commissioned to them. Next slide, please. Now, the other programs I will just go through very quickly that are in support of inclusive and sustainable development is the technology innovation for commercialization. As I said, bridging the gap from R&D results to actual economic activities. The partnership with national agencies, DPWH, Department of Energy, DOH, okay? The international collaborations, and actually this will probably merit one whole session, but this has been very fruitful for us. The internal human resource capability build up, so we have now an increase in PhDs and master's degree holders in our agencies. The IEC programs, the S&T Fellows program that I explained earlier, and legislative advocacy. You will find this repeated in my slides. Next slide, please. This is, I will not read all the details here, but this is a new facility where we give credit to Dr. Gobet Advincula ever since he started talking about the 3D technologies, okay, or 3D printing technologies, additive manufacturing. Dr. Gobet and our agencies, particularly the Metals Industry Research and Development Center, our Industrial Technology Development Institute, and our Philippine Council for Industry, Energy, and Emerging Technologies, R&D, did not stop until we were able to set up the Advanced Manufacturing Center, which was inaugurated in June. And we have two components, the actual prototyping and production under the Metals Industry Research and Development Center, and the materials development under the Industrial Technology Development Institute. They have inspired other universities, particularly the Bataan Peninsula State University, to undertake major R&D in this area. Next slide, please. In our assistance to our small and medium enterprises, we are already focusing on technologies towards the fourth industrial revolution technologies. And so this is one additional facility at the Metals Industry Research and Development Center, the Advanced Mechatronics, Robotics, and Industrial Automation Laboratory. Next slide, please. There are other facilities which will be integrated between now and December. We have the simulation, the simulated packaging testing laboratory at the ITDI, and the green packaging facility also at ITDI, the new metrology laboratory for chemistry also at ITDI, the tissue culture laboratory for ornamental plants in Bulacan, and some others in the region. So this one is the establishment of metals and engineering innovation centers in 5 regions of the country. Hopefully, we can cover all regions. Because our MIRDC cannot operate regional offices, we decided to partner with universities. And this is something similar to the already existing food innovation centers. Next slide, please. Okay, the technology business incubation has been strengthened and expanded so that today there are 47 business incubators and 16 innovation hubs across the country. Next slide, please. We have also started this grant program for startups because this has been mandated to DOST, to the Department of Trade and Industry, and the Department of ICT under the Innovative Startup Act. Next slide, please. Now, this is just the figure on scholars to show the growth, okay, in the number of scholarships. Maybe I should mention that this is one DOST program where the Department of Budget and Management has always been supportive. So we expanded in terms of the courses covered. We expanded in terms of additional universities where they can go, and we expanded particularly in the area of basic teacher education, basic education for those teaching science, technology, and mathematics at the basic education level. They can enjoy the scholarships even on a part-time basis. Okay, so here we also now launch the PhD by research program, where the first agency under DOST involved is the Industrial Technology Development Institute, and their partner is Mapua University, and the degree, the PhD degree, is PhD in material science with specialization on nanotechnology. Next slide, please. I'm close to the end of my presentation. I will not deal anymore with the statistics of Balik scientists. The trend was good until the pandemic came, and many who wanted to come home were constrained to come to the Philippines. We devised a system where virtual service can be done. Okay, but this has also some limitations. One good thing when we announced our advocacy for the establishment of the Virology and Vaccine Institute of the Philippines, there were many who volunteered to be Balik scientists in this area. Last August 13, we welcomed the first 7 Balik scientists focusing on virology and vaccine development, coming from the US, from the UK, and from Australia. Next slide, please. We have, of course, our programs directed to climate change adaptation and to disaster risk reduction. This has been made possible through budgetary allocation, which is earmarked for the Pag-asa modernization, and also for the upgrading and increase in the number of stations of PBOLs. So the increase in the number of Doppler radars, high-frequency radars, flood forecasting and warning centers. These are the additions. Next slide, please. Our PBOX has been very active in developing apps, okay, that will help professionals and ordinary citizens, okay, to determine, okay, what are the risks in very specific places. So they came up with GeoRisk PH, which is a database, okay, that stores standardized information on hazards, exposure, and vulnerability. We have this Hazard Hunter, which will tell you what is the level of hazard and risk in the place where you are or in the place where you are interested. The latest, of course, the GeoMapper PH, and the latest is the spectral acceleration maps of the Philippines, which has been adopted and is used heavily now by our structural engineers. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so we have the early forecasting, we have the early warning systems, and we are happy that we have been receiving official development assistance to expand our forecasting weather and flood forecasting centers in the regions. Next slide, please. We have networked our services. Okay, our laboratories are now networked. Okay, so you can just deliver your sample in one place. We'll take care where it will be analyzed. Okay, and this has expanded now from our 22 DOST laboratories. We now have 58 laboratories member of the network, some from the other government agencies, many from the private sector. The latest, the number 58, okay, is Nestle Philippines joined our One Lab network. And we have now laboratories in Thailand and Vietnam, which are part of the network. One store is really more on logistics. It's like Lazada for our MSMEs, okay? And we have our one expert where you can just search for an area where you need advice and they can tell you who the expert is and it can facilitate your collaboration. And then, of course, the Smart Food Value Chain Program, spearheaded by our Philippine Council for Industry, Energy, and Emerging Technologies R&D, and our Philippine Council for Agri, Aqua, and Natural Resources R&D, or PICARD. Next slide, please. I have already gone through this, but these are the other programs and strategies that we introduce or use in support of inclusive and sustainable development and competitiveness. Next slide, please. Now, the new program areas are in the virology and vaccine development, space science and technology, but we now have a partner here, and actually they are taking care of it now, the Philippine Space Agency, Defense and Security R&D, ICT, electronics and artificial intelligence, and of course the other new and emerging technologies, the omics technology, and science technology for the creative arts. So I think, next slide please, I think that ends my presentation. I wanted to go in detail on some of them, but of course with limited time, I hope I have given you an idea of what we have done, okay, since we assumed in 2016, and of course the 6 years will end in June of 2022. But hopefully there will be continuity, and with our agreements with our MOU with PAASE, I know that we can accomplish more. Okay, so I think tomorrow we have a signing with PAASE of a new program in Bataan. Thank you very much. Magandang gabi, magandang umaga, at mapagpalang araw para sa ating lahat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Secretary De La Peña, for your very informative and inspiring message. ASE is really thankful that you are in the forefront of science and technology ecosystem development in the Philippines. I think everybody would agree that you are indeed the key factor in the continuity of the DOST programs and projects. Again, we appreciate very much your distinguished leadership and dedicated service. Let us give Secretary De La Peña another round of virtual applause. Thank you very much. At this point, may we call on PAASE President Giselle Concepcion for the presentation of the PAASE Presidential Salutation to our distinguished honoree today. Take it away, President Giselle.
Thank you, Professor Ino. Congratulations to our indefatigable, humble Secretary of the Department of Science and Technology, Dr. Fortunato de la Peña. The sun never sets in the life of Secretary de la Peña. He hardly sleeps and rests. So it is my great honor and pleasure to present this to you today, the citations of the Philippine American Academy of Science and Engineering Presidential Citation for Distinguished Leadership, National Leadership, and Service in S&T Development in the Philippines. Let me make my screen full. Just a moment. think the list is endless, but this is what we came up with collectively from PASE, Secretary de la Peña, for his outstanding contributions to the development of the SNT ecosystem in the Philippines, for spearheading transformative, inclusive, sustainable programs under the DOST banner of Science for the People, for championing the promulgation of Republic Act number 11035 and Act institutionalizing the Balik Scientist Program, which provides significant incentives to returning Filipino experts, scientists, inventors, and engineers who would share their expertise in the country. For actively promoting the Balik Scientist Program among foreign-based PASA members who are being invited to serve as mentors, trainers, consultants, collaborators in priority R&D programs of the PCHRD, PICARD, and PSHRD. For establishing the RD Lead program, whereby local-based Filipino SNT experts, including PASA members, can engage in DOST programs in various regions of the country. For strengthening the national SNT innovation system that promotes the commercial, community-based applications of R&D results. For initiating the Filipinnovation program of the DOST, for playing a key role in intensifying several government programs, such as the Technology Business Incubation, or TBI program, and the Manufacturing Productivity Extension, or MPEX program, which has been supporting small enterprises. For launching BIST, Cradle, Swim, and NICER as part of the Science for Change program, or S4CP of the DOST, with the goal to support the creation of multi-stakeholder value chains critical for community-based training, productivity, and development in regions of the country. For giving top priority to S&T human capital development required to build the massive R&D manpower required to sustain development by providing undergraduate and postgraduate scholarships and supporting R&D training stints of students and researchers. For implementing several key information technology and e-commerce programs prior to the creation of the Commission on Information and Communications Technology, and also includes the e-government program of the DOST and the Philippine e-library project. For his visionary leadership in creating the Office of the Assistant Secretary for International Cooperation, leading to the development of a framework for international cooperation with 20 priority partner countries, for engaging in non-traditional and new bilateral ties with several countries to expand S&T cooperation of the Philippines, for raising the level of scientific awareness and literacy of the Filipino general public, for championing public information and exchange through his weekly DOST reports on DOST projects on the 4Ks: kalusugan, kaayusan, kabuhayan, and kinabukasan in different parts of the country. For his lifelong service and dedication to the development of S&T in the country, in the DOST, and in the University of the Philippines. For being a model S&T patriot, an S&T servant leader of the Philippines. Given during the 41st annual PASA's meeting and symposium, or APAMS, held from October 8 to 11, 2021 in Baltimore, Maryland, USA, live and online. Congratulations, Secretary Boy de la Peña, and gratitude from deep in our hearts. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much, Dr. Giselle Concepcion. Wala na akong masasabi. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary De La Peña, and also thank you very much, President Giselle of ASE. Indeed, this is a very important occasion for all of us, particularly the SNT ecosystem community in the Philippines, for recognizing the significant contribution of the Secretary of the Department of Science and Technology. I think this deserves a photo session for the participants. Okay. Okay, congratulations again. Thank you very much, Secretary De La Peña. We also would like to thank USEC Ged Ibarra and also the DOST family, including the immediate family of Secretary De La Peña. Thank you for attending and gracing this particular occasion. Thank you very much.
And we have a gallery photo, including the relatives and the DOST family of Secretary De La Peña. So I will take the photo also. I'm sure VP Mario is doing the same. This is the first screen.
So we would like to read, we have a plaque for Dr. De La Peña, and we would like to read the citation on it.
We were waiting for that, Chair Marjorie De La Peña. So I was queuing VP Mario.
Okay, we will do it right now. So we have a plaque, and I guess you can show it some other time.
You can show it here now.
Well,
Or you can just.
well, we will read it, and then you can show it.
Okay, next frame.
Okay, so the plaque, the citation of the plaque, presidential citation for distinguished national leadership and service in SNT development in the Philippines, awarded to Honorable Fortunato De La Peña, PhD, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, Republic of the Philippines, given on the 41st Annual Philippine Academy of Science and Engineering Meeting and Symposium, Baltimore, Maryland, October 10, 2021.
Okay, President Giselle, are you done with the photos?
Well, I'm still taking photos because I see, oh my gosh, I see Marga and her daughters. So Marga is a dear friend of my daughter, Bea. Marga, thank you for joining us. I see your beautiful daughter. So I'm into frame 2. Oh my gosh.
Hi, we weren't ready for the camera, but hi, thank you for having us.
Okay.
This is so
We
wonderful.
have 69 participants.
And we would like to make sure that Mrs. De La Peña is with us. And
He's
well,
not with us. That's my sister.
that's your sister. Talagang taga Baltimore. Maraming mga taga Baltimore sa pamilya ni Secretary Boy, and you were able to lure her back to the Philippines from Baltimore, Sec Boy. So
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, once again, thank you to the Secretary De La Peña's family and to all the participants for attending this particular session. Thank you very much for your attendance. So we're now closing this session of the program, and now turning this session, the virtual floor, to the next host, Dr. Elisa Aisa Yu. Take it away. Thank you very much for attending.
Hi, can you hear me? Can people hear me?
yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, good evening to everyone in the US and good morning to everyone joining us from the Philippines. It is my great pleasure and honor to introduce our next speaker. Dr. Rowena Cristina Guevara is the Undersecretary for Research and Development of the Department of Science and Technology. She is on secondment from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, where she is a professor at the Electrical and Electronics Engineering Institute. Prior to her current position, she served several administrative and management positions in UP, such as the Executive Director of the UP National Engineering Center, and later on as the youngest and first female Dean of the College of Engineering. She has been recognized many times for her achievements and contributions, including the 2010 Metrobank Outstanding Teachers of the Philippines, the 2018 Gawad CES Presidential Award, and the 2019 Award for Continuing Excellence in Service, ACES, again from Metrobank Foundation. As the Undersecretary for R&D, Dr. Guevara manages the DOST R&D funds, the 4 DOST councils, all the research development institutes, the Special Projects Division, and the Science for Change Program, or S4CP. And together with the Secretary and the other officials, she has worked tirelessly in the promotion and advancement of S&T in the country by providing programs that strengthen partnerships and linkages between academia, R&D institutes, and private industries nationwide. For today's plenary, Yusek Guevara will talk to us about the DOST Balik Scientist Program. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Undersecretary Dr. Rowena Guevara.
Thank you very much, Dr. Isaiah. Secretary Fortunato de la Peña, PAASE President Dr. Giselle Concepcion, Dr. Ernesto Pernia, Dr. Richard Abendan, Dr. Alvin Culava, Dr. Govet Advincula, Dr. Felino Lansigan, members of the PAASE, ladies and gentlemen, magandang agham po sa ating lahat. Allow me to express my thanks to all of you, PAASE President Dr. Giselle, and PAASE members for giving us the opportunity to present the Department of Science and Technology, or DOST, Balik Scientist Program. The Balik Scientist Program is one of the big programs of DOST. DOST is a government agency that provides central direction, leadership, and coordination of scientific and technological efforts and ensure that the results therefrom are geared and utilized in areas of maximum economic and social benefits for the people. The DOST comprises of 3 sectoral councils, 7 research and development institutes, 2 collegial and scientific bodies, 6 science and technology services, 16 regional offices, and 80 provincial S&T centers. The Balik Scientist Program, or BSP, is a brain gain initiative of the government that aims to tap into the ingenuity and expertise of Filipinos abroad to strengthen science, technology, and innovation capabilities of local researchers in the academe, public and private sectors, and industry. Moreover, the program aims to accelerate the flow of new strategic technologies in the Philippines and promote knowledge sharing that are vital to national development. The program was put in place as early as 1975. Former President Ferdinand Marcos recognized the need for a repatriation program and established the Balik Scientist Program through Presidential Decree 819. The program was implemented until 1986. Then on October 1993, former President Fidel V. Ramos reinstituted the program with Executive Order 130, which designated DOST as the implementing body. As the years went by, the program was continuously implemented with a few Balik scientist engagements. But on June 15, 2018, the program was recognized as significant to the country's need. President Rodrigo Roa Duterte institutionalized it with Republic Act 11035, also known as the Balik Scientist Act. Then, after 3 months, DOST crafted the implementing rules and regulations of the Balik Scientist Law. Since the inception of the Balik Scientist Program in 1975 until June this year, there were 577 Balik scientists who served in 733 engagements. The Balik scientists served 126 host institutions in 16 regions across the country. The The passage of the law in 2018 popularized the Balik Scientist program, which highly contributed to the increase in number of Balik scientists in the succeeding year. As a matter of fact, in 2019, 10% of the total number of Balik scientists have been engaged in just 1 year. However, it is also notable that there had been a decrease in the number of Balik scientists from 2020 to present. This is primarily because of the rising cases and several mutations of the COVID-19 in the country. But I am proud to say that amidst the pandemic, we had a strong 34 Balik scientists in 2020, and already on board, we have 22 Balik scientists and counting in 2021. We are absolutely grateful for the continuous dedication and commitment of these Balik scientists. We have conducted online promotional activities in collaboration with local and international graduate organizations with recognition from several media partners. To mention some, we have Manila Bulletin, Rappler, Philippine Business, and News. We also had media engagements that were publicized in newspapers, radio, television, and online platforms. Now, you might already be wondering, how can you become a Balik scientist? With the passage of the Balik Scientist Act, we hope to encourage more Filipinos or foreigners with Filipino descent to avail the program. It is being implemented by 3 DOST sectoral councils focusing on 3 sectors: agriculture, aquatic, and natural resources for PICARD, health for PCHRD, and industry and emerging technologies for PSHIELD. Under the law, the Balik scientist is required to have a host institution to work with and may serve under short-term, medium-term, or long-term engagement. The Balik scientist is eligible for general incentives, benefits, and privileges. The law includes exemptions from the PRC licensing requirements, baggage allowance, and medical insurance. Balik scientists are also given the opportunity to actively participate in DOST R&D programs and projects subject to usual guidelines and procedures. The Balik scientist also receives incentives and privileges that are specific according to the type of his or her engagement. Short and medium-term Balik scientists are entitled to 1 round-trip airfare and daily allowance, while long-term Balik scientists are entitled to 1-way ticket airfare and special relocation benefits to include assistance to education for dependents. The rising COVID-19 cases in the country has been a challenge for the program. Strategic mechanisms were deemed necessary. Hence, the program adopted the Balik Scientist Supplemental Guideline, which was approved on October 2020 and improved this September 2021. Under these guidelines, Balik scientists under short-term engagements may now avail of pure remote arrangement for activities with either COVID or non-COVID related, or it could be a combination of remote or on-site arrangement. Medium-term engagements, on the other hand, are required to do on-site arrangements. For remote arrangements, a monthly incentive equivalent to at least salary grade 27 is provided to Balik scientists. Such computation is as presented on this slide. The supplemental guideline will remain valid until such a time that travel restrictions and the 14-day quarantine are lifted. With regards to the requirement for application, Balik scientists are required to prepare the following documents for submission in order to initiate the process of their application. More information may be found on our website. Now, to help you understand the programs where Balik scientists can be engaged, I'm going to show 3 videos for AANR, for health, and for industry, energy, and emerging technology. Kindly watch these short videos. Eileen, paki-unmute.
We can address needs and pressing health concerns through PCHRD programs in priority areas. The Drug Discovery and Development Program of the PCHRD envisions to produce world-class medicines derived from the Philippine biodiversity, leveraging on local expertise. The RED program studies dynamic balance and imbalance within complex, globally distributed ecosystems comprising humans, animals, pathogens, and the environment to control diseases emergence in the future. Recognizing both persisting and emerging impacts of COVID-19, PCHRD continues to provide research-based solutions through Archer program for addressing and responding to COVID-19 through health research. PCHRD also addresses and builds
So that's for health. We now go to the next one, the last one, for industry, energy, and emerging technology.
Hope you will join in.
Thank you very much, Eileen. So aside from the council program, the PAASE members can also be engaged as balik scientists through our Philippine Innovation Program. It is a national strategy that supports and promotes development, transfer, and commercialization of new Filipino technologies and innovations. Our goal is to bring together the energies of various government agencies, academic and research institutions, civil societies, and industry, including those startup companies and MSMEs, to create an integrated Philippine innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. To support this strategy, the Philippines has passed several innovation policies, such as RA 11293 or the Philippine Innovation Act, to promote strategic planning and innovation, improve innovation governance, ensure effective coordination, and eliminate fragmented policies and programs, strengthen MSMEs in the innovation system, encourage entrepreneurial attitudes, protect potentials of innovation, and strengthen network among actors. The law mandates the creation of the National Innovation Council that will steer the whole of government coordination and collaboration. The Innovative Startup Act, RA 11337, was also enacted on the same year to strengthen, promote, and develop an innovative and entrepreneurial ecosystem and culture in the Philippines, and mandates the Philippine Startup Development Program to support the R&D of startups. This program is led by DOST, DTI, and DICT. We are also looking into adopting S&T Advisory Council framework, which was created through an Executive Order 270 in 1995, wherein it encourages the Filipino scientists abroad to organize themselves to share their expertise, technology development, and transfer technology between the Philippines and where they are situated. To my knowledge, the only remaining two S&T advisory councils are the one in California and the one in Japan. With the broad expertise and networks with PAASE, we hope to engage you as balik scientists who could contribute to capacity building activities to our local technology developers, startups, and MSMEs through mentorship programs and other training activities, and by supporting the actual development, transfer, and commercialization of Filipino technologies and innovation here and abroad. Your networks of academic and research institutions, as well as technology and innovation companies here in the Philippines and overseas, could be used to jointly develop innovative products and services for the benefit of both countries. I understand that Dr. Giselle Concepcion has launched a survey to identify interests among you on the various programs of DOSC, including our Balik Scientist program and Philippinnovation. We look forward to seeing the results of this survey and ultimately engaging you as one of our proud Balik Scientists. Eka nga, Balik Puso, Balik Pilipinas, Balik Scientists. Help us develop the country's S&T human resource and the S&T innovation landscape. Maraming salamat at magandang agham muli.
Maraming salamat, Yusek Guevara. Thank you so much. For me, it's really been quite engaging because as a 2014 Balik scientist, as a long-term Balik scientist, I see that much has changed. The program has expanded to include more ways where foreign-based Filipinos can actually contribute to Philippine S&T. For now, I would like to open the floor for questions to Yusek Guevara. Yes, sir. Sir Ernie Pernia.
Yes. Yeah, I'm interested, Yusek Rowena Guevara. What is the budget now for S&T and R&D vis-a-vis the GDP in 2021? So this is the current year, because the number that has been known to us and to most people is that the budgets, our spending on S&T, government spending on S&T has been at around 0.15 or 0.16% of GDP. So has this number increased during this year, given that you are doing a lot of things now, which was not the case in earlier years?
Thank you very much for the question, Dr. Pernia. The matter is that since 1982, the percentage of GDP expenditure on R&D has remained at around 0.14% to 0.18%. The number has not changed very much. In fact, if you look at the Government Appropriations Act, which is the budget of the government, the budget from 2019 to 2021 for R&D went down from 0.76% to 0.39% this year. But on the bright side, if you look at the Global Innovation Index, the reflection of this lower R&D budget is in what we call the innovation inputs. We are now number 72 in terms of innovation inputs in the Global Innovation Index 2021. Last year, we were number 70. So bumaba ang ating ranking. But in terms of innovation outputs, I'm very happy to report that we went from number 41 in 2020 to number 40 in 2021, making us what we call efficient innovators. But to the point of Secretary Pernia, we can only go so far with so little input. This is the reason why we are campaigning for the Science for Change program bill, which will guarantee the increase in funding for R&D up to 2% of the Government Appropriations Act in about 5 years' time. Without this continuous increase, whereas the GDP of the country is going up, but the absolute number is the only thing that is increasing for R&D, not the percentage. So we hope that we will be supported in our request for the Science for Change bill to be passed. It has already passed in final reading the lower house, but we're now working in the Senate. Please help us. Thank you.
So it is 0.78%, you said, in relation to the GAA, but not in relation to GDP. In relation to GDP, it's still 0.15 or 0.16%?
0.14 to 0.18. The current number is in 2018, but it's not yet out from the survey.
Yeah, because our neighbors in ASEAN, as you know, like Vietnam, it's 0.5
percent, which is half of the norm that has been set by the UNESCO for spending on science and technology. So we're way behind. I think we are at the bottom in terms of spending relative to GDP in ASEAN. And that is really, that's really a pity, because we have so many, scientists and engineers wanting to do a lot of things. And this is shown by what you and Secretary Boy has been doing. You have done so many things this year. I wonder where you got the funds to do all those things.
One of the newcomers in R&D investment is the private sector. Secretary Boy gave the example for the Cradle, or Collaborative Research and Development, to leverage the Philippine economy. Normally, we only require the companies to contribute up to 20% of the cost of the project. But in later years, like last year and the year before that, one company even contributed 3 times the investment of the OST. So I think the private sector is beginning to see the importance of R&D. They're beginning to invest.
Oh, that's really heartening. That's really heartening. And I hope we can continue to incentivize or encourage the private sector to be more engaging with scientists and engineers. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sec Pernia. Are there other questions?
There's a question in the chat box.
Thank you. This is the question for you, Sec Gev, is from CC David. Now that we recognize the contributions of foreign-based Filipino scientists being an essential component of the local science ecosystem, shouldn't we be promoting more scientists to try to be based in foreign institutions, i.e. scholars in foreign universities trying to land faculty positions after graduation? I'll repeat that, sorry. Now that we recognize the contribution of foreign-based Filipino scientists being essential components of the local science ecosystem, shouldn't we be promoting more scientists to try to be based in foreign institutions, i.e. scholars in foreign universities trying to land faculty positions after graduation?
I don't understand the question very much. If I were to interpret it, you mean we would ask our foreign scientists or Filipino scientists to become faculty members? Is that what you mean, Dr. CP? Because one of the things that we're trying to do here is to make them come home. And I cannot answer the question of Dr. CP, but rather I would like to elaborate on what the Secretary mentioned as the S&T Fellow Program. The S&T Fellow Program is our response to being able to retain our human resource that are for science and technology. You see, most of the items in the local government for scientists are SRS-1 and SRS-2, very low salaries. So we decided to create the S&T Fellow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which basically is salary grade 23 to 27. For your information, salary grade 27 is the salary of a full professor at the University of the Philippines. And our hope is that if there are graduates abroad who came home, became balik scientists, and cannot get a position in the university, they would be able to get a position at the Department of Science and Technology, Research and Development Institute, or Council. But our hope is that the S&T Fellow will become institutionalized in the future. This is similar to what Thailand did. Before, they had most of their scientists in the Ministry of Science and Technology. Then they created what's called NASDA. This is the National S&T Development Authority, where basically now most of the scientists are located. And in that NASDA, there is no tenure. Scientists are appointed for 5 years, and they have to show their deliverables before they are reappointed for another 5 years. And we see that this is a global trend rather than giving tenure. And our hope is that the S&T Fellow will become institutionalized in years to come. Thank you. Oh, CP is here.
CP, yeah, I was going to say, CP, can you ask your question in person? I don't think I did justice to your question.
Hi, Yusek Gab. Oo, nasagot naman ni Yusek Gab. But essentially, I was referring to the strategy that was taken by China in the 1980s and the 1990s, and the strategy that Vietnam is actually doing right now. And that is to send more and more scholars abroad to study and receive their PhDs from foreign universities. Not only for them to come back right away, but to actually stay in the institutions where they got their PhDs or elsewhere, because by the time that they are required by the country, then they can contribute as foreign-based scientists. And this was a strategy that was taken by China. And this is the reason why we have many mainland Chinese who are now faculty in the US, for example.
Okay. Yeah, thanks CP for that clarification. Before I go to President Giselle, there's a question on the chat box by Professor Raymond Tan. I have a related question. Should the PH-SNT system begin to open its doors to foreign talent?
May I answer that question?
Yes, please.
It was never closed. In fact, some of our R&D programs engage foreign scientists. We just don't call them a specific name, but we just lump them into what we call consultants. And we do have foreign consultants in some of our R&D projects. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Yusek Gev. Now I give the floor to President Giselle.
Thank you, Yusek Gev. Congratulations on all the implemented programs. So just as a follow through of Raymond's and CP's comments, it's a game changer, this SNT fellows of the DOST. We know the problems in UP. There were many who wanted to come home as balik PhD faculty, but I understand the program has been stopped now because of two reasons. One of which is relevant to your program. It is the dual citizenship of our prospective faculty, and that's not been acted on. But if they can become non-tenured SNT fellows focused on research under the DOST program, it solves a lot of problems. Okay, if we are allowing foreigners to become SNT fellows, then why would we not allow our dual citizens? Okay. But anyway, my question for you, apart from our discussion in the RTD later, is this, Yusek Gev. We've been wanting to get our PAASE stars like Gobet Advincula, Carlito Lebrilla, Romel Gomez, and others, Michael Puruganan, Raymond Tan, to speak to the business community. Okay, but we've not been invited until now, not by the MAP, not by Kati Business Club. So since you have very good relations now with different types of business organizations, and you actually have businesses investing in higher value SNT based products and services development, could you sponsor some of our, PAASE stalwarts to speak to the business community? That's my question.
Sure, Dr. Giselle, that can easily be done, especially now that our relations with several business organizations are on firm ground. In fact, it is rare for them to have any events now where they do not invite the DOST. So we can do that. Thank you for that suggestion.
And it could also be provincial or regional level, because there are many businesses that are based in the regions.
Yeah, same thing too. I don't know if you've heard from Dr. Abendan or from DTI. There's a program called RICS, Regional Inclusive Innovation Centers. And that is a way where the business, academe, government, and the civil society come together. And we could invite PAASE members to take part in those. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I give the floor to Sec Pernia. You have a question? I think you have to unmute po, sir.
Just a very quick question. You know, how about foreigners getting professor items in the university? You know, in the past, even dual citizens, Filipino Americans, for example, could not get an item. They can come as visiting professors, but they cannot be regular faculty in terms of getting an item. I thought we had already lifted that prohibition in the foreign investment negative list. So I thought that now foreigners, and especially dual citizens, can get professor items in, or faculty items in our universities, because this is a common practice in other countries. Even China has that, and other countries in ASEAN, they have that kind of arrangement. But here, I don't know why we are still very restricted. Thank you.
Dr. Pernier, you're talking about state universities and colleges, right?
No.
Private companies can hire foreign faculty
That's
members.
correct. I think in private universities, they probably can be given faculty items, but not in UP, for example.
Yes.
It's still not it's still not allowed.
It has something to do with the charter of UP because, for example, the University of Science and Technology of the Philippines, USTP in Mindanao, when they created their charter, it says there that they can give tenure to foreign professors.
Yeah.
But somehow UP did not put that in its charter. So the law has to be changed. And Dr. Gisela can answer this better than me.
Maybe Giselle can work on it. Have an amendment in the charter, in the UP charter.
Oh, I am powerless in UP. As you know, I am retired. Anyways, we'll work on it together, and we will support the Science for Change Act of the DOST. So we were thinking, Secretary Pernia, of a position paper, and this could be the heart of it. Full support for the S for Change program of the DOST. Yes.
Yeah.
I
Thank
think
you.
another point, Aiza, is this, to stress what CP and Raymond are saying. You are not a full-blooded research leader just by earning a PhD. Okay, that's a degree. You have to experience being a postdoctoral fellow and perhaps being a faculty member of a foreign university for you to be a true-blooded research leader and a mentor to your research group. And that is why USEC GEV, I think CP is saying, give our foreign-based scholars more time to spend abroad. Okay, and then at the proper time, they'll come home to the regions. And it has to be a very, very strategic, plan, quantified plan of where to put home. And the way to do this is to provide the incentives, the financial incentives. That's where the major part of the bigger budget should go, for massive training abroad of our best and brightest, and then afterwards for getting them back with the right incentives to where they can truly make a big difference. Anyway, I think this is like very, very important discussion. And Aiza, as you know, we have an RTD on this afterwards, right?
Yes.
Many
So,
more
actually, I just want to cover one last question from the chat box. Does the BSP require a prospective Balik scientist to first identify a host institution? Or can a prospective Balik scientist apply to DOST and DOST identify the relevant institution? I think that's the last question before we move on.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aiza. We can do either one, but what we have noticed recently is that it is best that the Balik scientists go by interest in specific programs of the OST, because that way we can easily partner them with the right host institution. So the PowerPoint presentation that I just gave, I gave it to Paase, and you may watch it again, and you can go to the Balik Scientist Program website to see what programs are available for hosting Balik Scientists. But you can do either one, contact a host institution, or they can go look for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, I would like to call the chair, Professor Mario, sorry.
Dr. Joel Coelho.
Yeah, one question.
Can you hear me? Yes, I've got a question, please. Yusek Gera. Good morning to everyone in the Philippines. As you know, as we all know, there's going to be a national turnover in the administration in the Philippines next year. So Yusek Gera, we've got a lot of worthy programs that are ongoing through the OST. How does one ensure the continuation of a lot of these programs? And is there a place that, or a role that Paase can play in terms of supporting?
Thank you very much for that wonderful question. We are in the process of coming up with the harmonized national R&D agenda 2022 to 2028. This is to make sure that there is continuity in the programs that we started at the OST. We imagine that by November, the harmonized national R&D agenda will already be with the National Economic Development Authority. And once they approve that, it will be in place. The other thing, you have to understand that in the Philippines, our budget cycle, it may seem to you that it's done on a yearly basis, but the Department of Budget and Management requires us to give what we call forward budget estimates. So for the next 3 years. So we are embedding all of those programs into the budget to make sure that they happen. You know, budget is just a numerical expression of the plan. So that's what we're trying to do to make sure that there's continuity of the efforts. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Finally, I would like to ask the chair, Dr. Marge Peña, the BOD director, and the chair, Dr. Mario Santiago, to give the certificate recognition. Marge and Mario.
Okay, so we have a plaque of appreciation for Dr. Guevara. And so I would like to read the citation for you, and we will have to send to the Philippines so we can have it. Plaque of appreciation awarded to Honorable Rowena C.L. Guevara, PhD, Undersecretary for Research and Development, Department of Science and Technology, Republic of the Philippines, for sharing her invaluable knowledge as guest speaker at the 41st Annual Philippine American Academy of Science and Engineering Meeting and Symposium, Baltimore, Maryland, October 10, 2021.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for the delay. Now I yield the floor to the moderators of the roundtable discussion, Dr. Gobet Advincula and Dr. C.P. David.
Thank you, Dr. Isa and Gobet. Are you there? We're running a little bit late in terms of our schedule for the roundtable discussion, but actually when Yusek Gev was answering some of the questions from the audience, we in a way started already our roundtable discussion. Joining us, hi Gobet.
Yeah, I'm here, CP, so I'll be happy to take the lead with you and go ahead, fire on with some comments and questions.
Thanks, Gobet. I was just going to introduce the members of our panel for this discussion. Of course, Yusek Gev will still be there. Sec Ernie Pernia of the UP School of Economics, also former Secretary of NEDA, of course, our President, Giselle Concepcion, USA Stride, Chief of Party, Richard Abendan, former Paase President and corresponding member of the NAST, Al Serafica, and the current director of UP NISMED, Dr. Sherilyn Monterola. Hi, everybody. Siguro, Gobet, if you will allow me, konti na lang yung time natin, but we wanted to ask the members of the panel for some insights. And today we'll be talking about the S&T innovation ecosystem. No? Certainly, there have been a lot of changes and improvements done by the current administration of the DOST. Also, not discounting the improvements made at the SUC and HEI levels. Diba? Ang dami ring nangyari doon. But what else can we do to improve this ecosystem? Making sure that science and technology actually result to meaningful changes, not just for the universities themselves, but for our society. Siguro that's the central theme. And I'll turn it over. Actually, Gobet, may I ask the first question to you? Having been based in the US and seeing the ecosystem here in the Philippines, if there is one change or one strategy that you may want to do or share with us to improve this ecosystem, what would that be, Gobet? So, ginawa na kitang panel discussant muna.
Okay, well, thank you, CP. And of course, I'm looking forward to the comments and questions from everyone in the panel. And definitely a lot of things I've seen and experienced, we can double up or even quadruple what we've been doing and what DOST and UP has been doing, for example, during my time in association with them. And that is to bring as much collaboration and expertise as soon as we can, double up, triple up with our kababayans abroad. Here at PAASE, especially with the MOU, I think we can even make more of a difference. But I think the groundwork such that you have this incentive, sending the students abroad and just requiring or asking them to come back. But now the long term really starts all the way to high school, if you want me to really emphasize that. In the high school sector, it's a feed. It's the raw materials by which they go to the STEM disciplines. So it can really start all the way to the high school. But even the undergrads, new programs, research opportunities, internship with industries, all of the above. I mean, there's really so much work to do that you can almost start anywhere. And I believe part of the S&T that Dr. Pernia and Dr. Guevara are talking about in terms of the budget should really go towards education, STEM education. It goes hand in hand with capital investment.
Thanks, Gobet. So 2 points there, super important. Number one, deepen our bench and have parang that highway for new STEM undergrads, no? And then later on do their master's and PhD. And the second one, collaboration, which we already started, but you're saying that there's much more opportunity to do that. Thanks, Gobet. Sec Ernie, I wanted to ask you about parang a big picture idea muna. What is really the role of S&T in improving our society, not just economics, but all aspects of the economy? If you're there, Sec Ernie, we've talked about this a million times, but meron ka bang bagong perspective to share with us?
Yeah, well, I was thinking of, I'm sure everybody is familiar with this triple helix model of innovation. And this simply says that there should be interactions between and among academia, industry, and government towards socio-economic development that eventually makes our country a knowledge economy and also a knowledge society in accord with global standards. I think we're a little bit behind other countries, even in ASEAN, in terms of this kind of collaboration and interaction among triple way or three-way interaction between and among industry, academia or university, and the government. Well, for example, I think the government, I think in the past and even currently is not really very, I mean, I'm not talking about the DOST, but the government as a whole, well, the administration as a whole, including the cabinet. There's only really Boy de la Peña there, and when I was there, I was also very active in promoting science and technology, and it's in the Philippine Development Plan, and to some extent, si Mon Lopez of DTI. The other cabinet members, including the president himself, never mentioned S&T in our cabinet meetings. So that is the kind of thing that we are lacking. There has to be more cognizance and appreciation from the government, from the administration, from the national leadership, and including, you know, those around the president or the national leadership. And so that is something that should happen already, maybe in the next administration.
Parang Sec Ernie, parang what you're saying is that we expand further what Doc Gobet was saying earlier about collaboration, not
Yes.
just among scientists, but you're stressing the collaboration between DOST and its network of scientists and researchers with the other government agencies.
Yes, yes. And you know, because if the scientists and engineers are the supply side in terms of innovation and inventions, there has to be a demand side, which is the private sector, that they're going to use it, and in effect also be willing to fund the the activities of scientists and engineers, and then the government has to be there to provide the appropriate, conducive environment for this three-way collaboration and interaction. I think that is the optimum that could happen in terms of advancing our science and technology innovation ecosystem, so that it becomes self-sustaining. It becomes we don't have to push in small places, but you know, it becomes a self-sustaining activity.
Yeah,
that is really the ideal that could happen.
In a way, the current administration, lalo na through USEC-GEV, have reached out to the private sector and also to government agencies. If USEC-GEV is still with us in the panel, di ba that was one very clear strategy of SecBoy's term, and that is to make science and the research that we're doing in DOST to be applicable to the private sector, through the Science for Change programs. USEC-GEV.
Thanks for that question, Dr. CP. With other government agencies first, because all of the important government agencies sit in the governing councils of the DOST. For example, in PSHIRT, we have their DPWH, CHED, DTI, DOE, DOTR. And one of the things that we have been doing with them in the last 2 years is that whenever there's a project that they are interested in, we ask them to co-fund. And we have been very successful in that. For example, DPWH, in one project where we have plastic and rubber embedded in asphalt, we did not think that they would do it, but they volunteered to pave 1 kilometer of asphalt using the technology that our researchers are working on. And I didn't know that it was very expensive. It turns out that they sponsored the project more than DOST has sponsored it.
USEC, parang what you're doing is expanding the budget of DOST's R&D by getting the budget of the other agencies in a way.
In a way, yes. And then for the private sector, since the Cradle started, we have now 73 projects from Cradle. And we see that more and more of them are spending more money than the government is spending. They're believing already the research and development is good for innovation and for their business.
Yusek Gav, at the risk of being labeled with favoritism, if there is one project that that shows industry academe collaboration, ano yung what stands out to you?
You mean a program or a project?
A project.
Project one would be the EHOS Resource Corporation with the University of Southeastern Philippines under Cradle. You know, when they were doing the experiment, this is a disease surveillance for a banana plantation. They were only working with 10 hectares. And because the project using Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and image processing produced such great savings for the company, in the end, they are now using it for 150 hectares and saving millions for the company. And now, we're no longer spending any money on that research. It's only the EHOS that's spending on the research.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Yusek. Gab.
I think it would be good, Yusek Gav, if we record the kinds of projects that are being done by the private sector and the spending that's being used to push or to promote these projects, so that we have a record of how much is being spent on science and technology innovation. Because as we had agreed earlier, from the government side, it's a very small it's a very small fraction of the GDP. So it's a good, and it's very heartening, as I said, that the private sector is now contributing to this funding, which is really inadequate as far as the if we just rely on the government spending.
But we do have long ways to go with other departments. For example, with the Department of Agriculture, they are the natural technology transfer agency for DOST. But that is a tough act.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, definitely I agree with Sec Pernia. Parang to expand the budget for R&D, we really have to involve the private sector. And actually many of the projects abroad, like in the United States, are actually initiated by the private sector. Si Doc Gobet nga for sure had a lot of experience dealing with the private sector for contracted research and so on and so forth. Is this also the plan for AMSEN, Doc Gobet, not just to do the basic research and training, but also try to involve the private sector locally through AMSEN?
Yeah, I would say that's very consistent, CP. The AMSEN from the very beginning, we conceptualized it to be very effective in working with industry. So very early on, they engage a lot of input from the industrial sector, asking them what they want, what their needs are. You see, working with industry really is very simple. You just ask them, what's your problem? What's your biggest challenge? What will allow you to increase your productivity, sales? When you talk to that language, it's music to their ears. And so when we started AMSEN, we just built it to get the latest technology, outreach, especially in the area of materials and manufacturing. And when we started laying out the vision, how it can impact many sectors in industry, we started by asking really and thinking deep what each industry are looking for, will need, and what's the potential. So I think that can be replicated in many types of centers.
It's not simple.
Established
Just
by the
ask them
UST.
what they need. What
Yeah,
they need
very
to
simple. Very
parang
simple.
improve their product or make their process efficient.
Right,
Okay.
right.
And then in AMSEN, parang okay, let's start right away with those kinds of questions and not deal with the basic stuff first. and build our capabilities, go straight away to the private sector.
Right, right. Ang maganda niyan is you match the technology, the best technology you can get, and apply it to the problem right away, or get the best minds. Really get the best minds to be engaged. I would like to point, of course, Richard and Al. They have been trying to
Oo nga,
find
I'll bring in
good
Al
ways
and
to.
Richard kasi they're really the ones working with the collaboration between the private sector and the academia.
Right.
But yeah, parang how you put it, it seems that simple. No? Pero Al, what are there other parang barriers for the private sector to engage?
Not that simple, but yeah, I'll go
It's
ahead.
not that simple. Sorry.
I wish it was that simple. I've been doing that for the last 8 years. From
ano ba yung mga barriers
to everyone. Richard and I would been part of the industry academic partnerships and strides since 2014, guys. So we know how difficult it is. But
I know. What's the barrier?
The barrier is one, our speed. Academia and government doesn't travel at the speed of industry. Like take the case of Bataan. We spoke to Bataan 2-3 months ago. How long did it take for the MOU? I had FINMA already talking to them early, within a week of the discussion for 3D printing for houses to do cost benefit analysis. But of course, where's the agreement now? Okay, then we go back, and hopefully they're still interested by the time we go back. So that's just an example. But definitely, do you have, like in medical device development, we always start with the user need, and I think that's what COVID is trying to say. Ask what industry needs and how we can help from academia and government. And that's a good way to start the conversation. But it doesn't end there.
I guess the simple part is asking the questions.
Yeah.
But going from there, lalo na you pointed out the speed. So mabagal yung research part.
Hindi naman doon. Sa crafting of the agreements and being able to operationalize is a part that I find it very slow. Sometimes in the private sector, we just have a meeting and a buy on a golf game. Tara, let's go. Let's do it. You've seen it, CP. And if you can't deliver, then you disengage. So that's.
But I believe, Al, kahit I know what the frustrations are there, no. But actually, what USEC Gev did with the Science for Change program, and that is to really have a program for industry academic collaboration straight away. Parang it provides that template. So hopefully mas mabilis na ng konti at this point in time.
Well, the Cradle program, which is also our earlier version in USAID Strive, Richard can talk about our Agila. Actually, Agila industry collaboration was the beginnings of that conversation. So I'll let him take, that's his baby. But definitely that's a good start of just getting to know each other, what each other's language is. Being able to understand ano ba yung sinasabi ng industriya, ano ba yung
Richard, I'll put you on the spot first now before I let you go and go to Richard. What project have you seen that involves industry and academic collaboration that has the most potential, in terms of economic benefits and bringing the science to the commercialization level? Just one project.
Yeah, one project. The biggest of the spin-offs of the country, which is MTech. Manila Health Tech is our first spin-off in UP, TTPDO. When I joined them, that was in 2015. It scaled up. We were looking at Indonesia.
With Dr. Destura.
Yeah, with Raul Destura. And definitely the UST has poured money into it. And that's an example of an academic research. Of course, the other side is the OII, which is the implant knee of Dr. Ramon Gustillo, which is also, for lack of a better word, industry-government collaboration in its purest form, because it was for product development. But the challenges were, of course, on the regulatory front, on the manufacturing front, which has been solved. And now it's scaling up, and soon enough, we'll have a unicorn, and hopefully in Philippines.
Got it. Richard, now with the remaining few months of Stride, again, same question, where are the barriers for our researchers to engage the private sector? from your experience?
Yeah, I think we've know the barriers already. We've talked about this so many times. I think going forward for the STRIDE program, the remaining months, is sort of what are the learnings and how can we sort of, and I'll mention it, the framework. No? And DOS is doing a lot of that already. I think to Gobet's point, and it is the first question, I know what's the need of industry. It really starts there, but it's really, you have to get the right networks, the right person. It's personality driven sometimes, even though the framework's there, if there's no trust, nothing's gonna happen, right? Or the vice versa, right? So that's what I'm saying is it should be simple, but it's really sort of depend on so many things. At the STRIDE program, an example that was brought up by Yusek a while ago was the USTP charter. I think that's a classic example where they were built to do collaboration. So you took away all those barriers about, am I incentivized to do industry research? That charter took it all away. It made it so easy. So what I'm trying to say is there are sort of deep-rooted things we have to work on also to sort of make this trust and this collaboration work better. We know all of that already. I'll plug again, procurement's always a big problem.
Yeah.
We can go on that again.
Favorite again.
Yeah, and I know this group, we have many ideas and even mechanisms for partnerships, even based on abroad. We've tried that, and really what we realize, there's no one single formula, and it takes a while, especially again, industry. I think somebody mentioned a while ago that there's that demand side from industry. How do you make them trust to work with universities and government to get funding and to invest in R&D? If they do that, they fund more universities, they do more research. So it's a cycle, but where do we come in? It's from our 8 years and working with DOSC here, sometimes it's just you have to get the right mix, the right timing, and the right people. But the challenges will always be there. We'll work on this for the dying breath of STRIDE, at least for the next few months. Ano ba yung mga policies? For example, how can we bring in incentives or university codes in HEIs? So they're really doing collaborative research. Because right now it's not hardwired into the code of universities. Not all. So those are things we're doing. It's sort of the dirty work of innovation collaboration, but it's something you have to do. If not, it's just all about talking and partnership building. It's sort of left to chance sometimes.
Got it, Richard. In a way, we are hitting the questions that were provided to the panelists. Essentially, what is our vision for the S&T innovation ecosystem? Number one, partnerships with the industry, partnerships with government. And I'm just taking off to the other point that Dr. Gobet actually mentioned at the very start, and that is deepening the bench of the S&T innovation ecosystem. The ecosystem will remain small if we don't have that steady flow of people coming in. So at this point, I'd like to bring in Cheryl and Ma'am Giselle about yung S&T manpower development. Not many of you have heard probably just yet, but Dr. Cheryl Monterola has recently joined UP NISMED as its director. Cheryl, what's the plan for increasing the S&T manpower of the country? I guess that's the general question. And what would be our strategies to build this S&T innovation ecosystem, starting with plenty of interest in STEM education?
Thank you, Doc CP. And I'd like to piggyback on what Doc Gobet said earlier regarding strengthening the foundation at the basic education level, because that's our foundation. And if we have that critical mass of students going to later on or having the exploring this idea of STEM careers and opportunities, because right now in senior high school, we only get 15% of senior high school students going into the STEM track. And we're talking about 3 million students. So just 15% going into STEM. Of course, it's a complex problem because there are few STEM schools. Like, for example, only 26% of senior high schools are offering STEM. So those students who might be interested in going to STEM, because of the lack of nearby STEM school, so they will switch interests, go to another track in senior high school. Also, there's a shortage of qualified STEM teachers. There are about 10,000 math and high school and science majors, teachers who are qualified to teach science and math in senior high school. So here we are at NISMED. We're coming because we are a research and training institution for science and mathematics education development. Would like to act as a translator of our scientists and our industries. Translators for, let's say, STEM needs, translating these STEM needs to curriculum standards, to learning outcomes, to teaching approaches, to assessments, because these are the languages of teachers in the field. And if we speak this and bring this down to the grassroots, then we will be able to really help capacitate our teachers, really teach STEM that's understandable or relevant to the students, and will have measurable outcomes coming from the students. So just to be fair also to the Department of Education, because I'm also working with the Edu Futures program of DepEd, there are several initiatives already in place. They know that redefining learning spaces have to happen because of our current setup of remote learning delivery, and we have to partner with parents and other more knowledgeable ones in the houses, in the homes. So we need to equip them, and we need to partner with like-minded institutions and civil societies. So it's really ecosystem building for us at this point. And I'm just glad that with the opportunity to come to NISMED and my past experience working with Center for Integrated STEM Education that's privately funded and it's now headed by Doc Al. So really the interplay of government, industry, and academia is needed. So just bringing the strengths of everyone, synergizing them, and working para sa bata, para sa bayan. Thank you po.
Let's try to answer the issue in a way, the elephant in the room, and that is our dismal performance in the recent TIMSS and PISA exams. Parang ito siguro Filipino pride lang to. I cannot really imagine that we will be last place, Cheryl, in these exams. If only for that, parang we should do that intervention program. I know we're doing one intervention program with you and PAASE on board, pero is this something really long-term, or are there shortcuts that we can do and actually see marked improvements in STEM education? So alam ko medyo mahaba tong long-term teacher training and so on and so forth, pero meron bang parang low-lying fruits that we can pursue?
Right now po, DepEd is doing a training regarding assessment frameworks of large-scale assessments, because admittedly, we are not aligned with the assessment frameworks of large-scale assessments, because those assessments are not only measuring knowledge, but it's also measuring, there's an added component of context, like for example, occupational, scientific, or let's say personal context. But most of our existing exams in the schools are actually low-level questions and do not include much of context. And
So
also other skills.
You're saying, Cheryl, kunyari yung mga national achievement test, and during our time, it was called the NCEE, kung natatandaan niyo pa yon. These can be further improved. Is that what you're saying? And actually measure competencies in the subjects?
Actually, sir, we're more concerned about the formative assessment, because it's what's happening day in and day out in classrooms. If, for example, the kinds of assessments that we do in classes are not aligned, they don't measure or they don't assess critical thinking or even extrapolation or
parang
so
rote
on.
learning yung
yes.
Okay,
so they're not conditioned for those kinds of items. So when they see it the first time, so they will really be quite surprised, and not only that, imagining other contexts. But if, for example, it's by the book, examples are given by the book, then there are no other contexts being discussed, then perspectives can be quite limited for our students. But that is being, remedied now. I think there's a technical working group or in DepEd working on preparing what you call PISA-like and TIMSS-like questions to be shared or circulated to DepEd teachers, and
Okay.
also some trainings also for teachers.
Thanks, Ariel. Ma'am Giselle, this is one of the parang programs that we have in PAASE, no, to help STEM education, and maybe you can talk to us a little bit more about PAASE's efforts, no, towards deepening the bench. Ika nga.
Right on spot, CP. So I speak from PASA's perspective. I can speak from many other perspectives, but this one is the unique contribution of PASA towards brain gain in our country. And if we invest in our PASA experts, our stalwarts as science rock stars like they do in New York City, you come to the airport and you see the pictures of scientists. They're called science rock stars, okay? Then we could make a difference in the short, medium, and long term. And I'm really hoping that SecBoy and USecGev would consider this strategic investment in PASE stalwarts to become your consultants or advisors for high-level S&T. And I'd like to showcase at this point our Severino co-awardees through the decades. And in 44th APAMS, we deliberately asked them to speak in sessions in the last 3 days. Some of our co-awardees are part of this R&D, namely Secretary Pernia, Alsan Rafika, and then we have our new co-awardees, Kay Aviso and Arnel Salvador. But let me tell you what Joey Comiso, Seville de Terra Wadley, Carlito Lebrilla, Joel Cuello, who have a direct linkages with businesses, Michael Puruganan, Alvin Colaba, Alvin Colaba, of course, Gobet Advincula, Francis de los Reyes, Romel Gomez, talked about at 41st APAMS. All of their areas of expertise are directly relevant to areas of development in the Philippines, in the regions, in the provinces, in the rural to urban and urban areas. And each of them can contribute significantly by giving you advice, by you maybe supporting them as DOST consultants and showcasing them to industry. So we're always looking for ways to hit many birds with one stone. You know, the co-awardees, they're given a $1,000 prize money, but traditionally it's always returned to the PASE. Okay, so what if under our foundation you could give some kind of a token to the co-awardees, okay, for them to serve as your consultants, something like a partial balik scientist compensation through the PASE Foundation. So let me say that a good example of how a co-awardee, a DOST Balik scientist, can ripple out the effect of his expertise is, I say it's Gobet Advincula. Okay, why? Because he's been coming here regularly, not just to the DOST, but even to UP. Okay, Gobet has trained so many of our most brilliant young scientists, led by John Ryan Kokoy Dizon of the BPSU with support from the DOST. Gobet has helped you in building the AMSEN facility. So if you have the experts in your council, it's also to give you advice on building the right facilities, on getting the right instruments and maintaining them. And then these experts of PASA, the rock stars, They are very experienced research leaders in their lab groups, in their field groups. So they have super PR, qualities. So they are excellent communicators. So
So, Ma'am Giselle, what you're saying, what I'm getting from what you're saying is that
You
we should you should provide our youth another model for them to
and I'm
aspire to
about to
become,
say it. I'm about
other
to
than
I'm about to point it out, CP.
sige,
So
go ahead.
what is the ripple effect? Because Gobet trained Ryan Kokoy, and Kokoy is a super committed SNT patriot. You know, he mentored students of the Pataan National High School, and they came up with a drone made from 3D printed material, and then there was input, of course, from their electronics faculty and experts in BPSU. And what did these students come up with? A robotic seed planting device, okay, that improves the efficiency of seed planting and seed growing, I think, sevenfold. Okay, I'm going to end here, and I'm just going to go to the motto of one of the great innovation centers of the world. This is the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Okay, what is their motto and logo? It's mens et manus. Okay, it's mind and hands, and this is right along the expertise of USEC Gev and Sec Boy. That is why DOST is flourishing. In engineering, you have to learn it with your hands. Okay, it's mind and hands, mens et manus. You have to do it in the field. Okay, so I think that if we're able to showcase how our past stalwarts have done it with mens et manus, it will go a very long way in, amplifying, echoing, rippling the impact of their expertise in the country, including in STEM education. Learning by doing. Okay, so I'll stop there. Thank you so much.
So if I will rephrase what you said, Ma'am Giselle, and making rock stars out of scientists, parang we're providing the youth another model, not just people who they find to be successful, like the artistas, or politicians or athletes, but to aspire to become scientists as well. Siguro, kailangan nating kausapin yung mga friends natin sa MASCOM to package the entire S&T community to look that way instead of just us working amongst ourselves. Sec Ernie is raising his hand. Sec Ernie?
Yeah, well, just a couple of points, CP, Doc CP. Yes, I was going to ask Gobet and see regarding the idea of having a meeting between our scientists and engineers, not all of us, but a select group of scientists and engineers meeting with the captains of industry, because what's being done now are micro arrangements. I think we need to look at the bigger picture, and maybe if we have that kind of meeting with the captains of industry, Ayala, Aboitis, Pangilinan, these are the captains of industry, etc. Then maybe we can look at the forest, not just attending to individual trees of the forest. So that is one thing. I want
parang i-programatize natin yung mga small.
Yes. So it becomes a macro arrangement, and it's going to have a wider effect, I think. Another point I wanted to raise was, I think we need to make science and technology a household word. This is the rock star thing that Giselle was talking about. I think in our country, scientists and engineers are not really given enough importance. It's not being highlighted. Even in TV programs, for example. So we need to popularize science and technology in the sense that it will be appreciated by the public, so that instead of being engrossed in rock stars, sorry, yung mga celebrities, the usual celebrities, scientists and engineers will be given more attention, and the young people will be more attuned to having their ambition to become scientists and engineers rather than just sports or celebrities. A third point is that regarding the improvement of STEM, I think we cannot, we can do some shortcuts, but we also need, we have to start from the early part of primary education. Maybe even start with early child development, because we have to look at the life cycle of the human being. We cannot just hit in the middle of the life cycle. We have to start from the beginning, and this has to do with charting the course of science and technology in the next decade. In the next decade, we have to start from the early part of the life cycle. That's what I'm saying. So just 3 points.
Related to what you're saying, Sec Ernie, Yusek Kev chatted that scientists actually still enjoy that high trust rating from the public, and we should capitalize on this.
That's right. Right.
And I should also mention, because I don't think you're the type, Sec Ernie, who watches Korean novela, but there is research in Korea that says that depending on what is portrayed in their telenovelas, they see a spike in the interest in those particular fields, whether it be the medical field or startup engineering or even military and so on and so forth. So there's that strategy. I don't know if it's government mandated, but what the youth see in television, actually, they are able to see themselves in it and pursue those careers. No? So baka dapat ganun ka high level yung strategies natin. Doc Gobet, Giselle mentioned you many times about being our rock scientist, rock star. What else? What else can we do to parang to make more Gobet advinculas in the Philippines, to say it bluntly?
That's my wife. I'm very effusive and of course very very much appreciative of Giselle's comments, and of course it's a partnership. For example, even the development of the AMSEN and the 3D printing landscape, it started a partnership actually with GEV and Secretary De La Peña. So what the bottom line here is, if you have willing hands, willing hearts, you can find good partners. And I think to the point that Giselle is emphasizing, me, but not only me, really, you have a lot of dedicated colleagues like Mel Gomez and Francis de los Reyes and Mike Burungana. It's really just partnering with them. So if there's really a way we can have a good partnership mechanism, plus massive investments and resources. I mean, I'll be honest, we're quite busy here in the US already. And so many things have already pulled my direction. But I thought it as an investment to do things in the Philippines for the love of the country, for the love of the Filipinos. And a lot of people in Pasig will do it for the love of the Filipinos. But to compensate their time, you really have to draw them away from other commitments. Take Mike Burunganan, who has a lot of investment coming from UAE. Okay, I myself had a lot of investments with some colleagues in Japan who wanted me to invest more time there. But I think if there's really a mechanism like building centers or building institutions where you invite rock stars, for example, to come to the Philippines. I would mention, several examples. I mean, Picari was meant for something else. I wish it would really have been turned more for the benefit of Filipino stakeholders to have that investment. If you had empowered them, they would have multiplied much more. So I would say really bring them, incentivize them, and more than willing hearts and willing minds, they will come.
Thanks, everyone. We have exactly 7 minutes left in our panel discussion. There are several questions in the chat box. No, Doc Chair, there are some questions on DepEd there. No, if you can answer those. Also, no, any other comments from our panel? No, so we're just talking about two things here: partnerships and deepening the bench. And obviously, there are interconnections between those two strategies. Gobet, I haven't asked you about deepening the bench. No, I asked Yusek Gev earlier about a potential strategy. No, this is because we always ask our graduate students abroad to come back right away, after doing their PhD. Pero when I was in the US, I see that many of my counterparts from other ASEAN countries, they try very hard to secure a faculty position in the universities there, knowing fully well that that is actually a form of investment of their own governments, because once they secure those positions, then they become these avenues for students from their own countries to actually get scholarships from the schools themselves and proliferate the manpower that they have. And it's no longer kumbaga, the Chinese professors in our school, they get more than half of their advices as Chinese, from mainland China as well. So hindi natin naisip yung strategy na yon, because we're always concerned with the brain drain of pulling out people from our home country. From your experience, having worked in the US and then now working with us, meron bang parang middle ground so that our scientists and engineers do not leave the country, and if they do, they contribute back to the country?
Right. So I can say again from experience, and in the talks that I've given, I always showed a good number of Filipinos who stayed in my lab, and some of them went back. Some of them really stayed and are very successful here. I have several Filipino PhD students who are managers, who are R&D leads, who are very highly well-employed, valued scientists in the US. And you cannot stop them. That's the thing. But I think the DOST scholarships, fellowships available, and we can double, triple it. There's a chance, and they have to, if they did sign up on a contract, to be going back to the Philippines and contribute. And that's really when we started the visiting scholar program with Geb early on the AMSEN. That's really what made them come back. And I'm happy they did. And I really told them there are many opportunities when you come back. So yung model na taking some of our PhD scholars to spend at least 6 months abroad, 1 year abroad with Filipino PAASE professors, we should double, triple, quadruple that, because again, mentoring them in our labs, it's almost for free. In a way that we have the lab and we have the research foundation and facility, we are more than happy to take Filipino students. And then when they come back to the Philippines, they carry with them some of our DNA in the lab. And when they come back, place them in places where they can be effective and not just gainfully employed, but be part of a science ecosystem. So again, I mentioned Picari. Picari should have been that way in terms of bringing Filipinos to the US and bringing them back. But we could have done it at PAASE as well, many times over.
Yeah,
so I would say
actually,
just...
Sorry, Gobet. Dr. Arnel Salvador of NIP, as well as Maria Redillas, mentioned yet another component of that S&T ecosystem that we're trying to build. No, sabi ni Dr. Salvador, actually, many of the scientists who are based abroad will all come back if the infrastructure, if laboratories are built, in the country, like AMSEN, I guess. So, Yusek Geb, if I may ask you one final question about infrastructure, kasi DOST is the main institution doing this. What's our is the funds from DOST enough to build all these facilities, and is this part of our long-term goal of building these high-tech facilities?
Dr. CP, in the Science for Change program bill, those are exactly what we have. We're thinking of expanding nuclear science and technology for medical, agricultural, and health applications. We're going into human security and new fields, actually, but we are going to need the infrastructure. That is why for the 2022 budget, we need an extra 3 billion to make that infrastructure happen in time for what we need in the future. So we're not prepared for the pandemic. That's why we're building the VIP, but there are other things that we need to prepare for. So please campaign for the Science for Change program bill to be approved. Thank you.
So that's an extra 3 billion on top of the 5 billion budget, 7 billion of DOST.
Thank
okay,
you.
and that those facilities need to be built not only for our foreign-based scientists to come back, but also to train the local scientists up to the level of their counterparts abroad. All right, we are down to actually last 1 minute. Anybody else in the panel? Maraming comments chat box.
CB, I just wanted to respond to Sec Ernie's request for interface with the business community. In Stride, we've done the Philippine Government University Industry Research Roundtable in 2015 in Manila Peninsula. We invited the chairman of all the businesses there. Actually, Sec Boy was USEC at that time in 2015. And we have a follow-on meeting with the Chemical Society SPIC to outline the research initiatives of industry in 2016. That was the beginning. After the change of administration, it became not kosher to be talking about a US institution, which is GUIR, as a model, and that fell off the cracks. But definitely that was meant to get everyone in industry, everyone in university on a research sector or a topic, on a general methodology first. The model has been there for 30 years in the US, and it focused on biotechnology, human genome sciences. All of the omics were part of that research roundtable. We can just reproduce it, don't have to reinvent the wheel. But clearly that's probably something that's worth pitching to the next administration as to reinvigorate the actual triple helix that we're talking about in the science community. And I've always pushed, but it doesn't stick with industry. I talk to them on a constant level, on a monthly level. They're asking me what's happening in S&T, and I tell them, and then, okay, thanks for the update. See you later. So we need to find. So right now I'm focusing on the foundations, the League of Corporate Foundations, and see if we can hear what they need from the foundation that's willing to spend money without an ROI. That's the critical part, without an ROI. Because when I try to pitch the industry, they always want ROI. And right now they can't do that. So maybe the foundations can engage initially, develop the trust, and then maybe a real work can happen in the next decade. Thank you.
Got it, Al. Thank you for that. So now I'm able to form that ideal S&T ecosystem. Number one, that steady stream of students and practitioners into that ecosystem. Number two, collaboration with business, as you mentioned, Al, as well as government agencies. I saw in the chat box, Benji Vallejo was mentioning that, but we are advisors of science-based policies in different government agencies, di ba? As well as collaborations with foreign-based scientists. And the third one, S&T infrastructure is required. And this is what Yusek Gev is saying, that we need that extra 3 billion pesos to build these new facilities attract those who are based abroad, train those who are currently here up to the level of their counterparts abroad. So we are now at the end of Ambiles. No, we are actually more than 1 hour already in this roundtable discussion. I'll give the floor to Ma'am Giselle, and then final words from our co-moderator, Gobet Advincula. Ma'am Giselle, final
Thank you.
words.
Thank you, CP. So the nature of science is the applications are quite specific, both in agriculture, in the areas of agriculture and disaster risk management, but also in terms of regions. I just like to showcase the work of Alvin Kulaba in Leyte for a whole of community approach in developing agriculture, okay, in the province. But there are also fundamental technologies that cuts across all of these applications. For example, genomics. So who is our leader in PASE on genomics? It's Michael Puruganan and several others. Who is our leader on Internet of Things and electronics? Is Mel Gomez, Danilo Ramero. Okay. Who is our leader on modeling techniques? We have several. One of them is Raymond Tan. We have materials, including nanotechnologies and polymer technologies. That's Gobet and Arnel Salvador in the semiconductor industry. So we have these types of experts in PASE. I would like to suggest to the DOST that they serve on an oversight function first and foremost in programmatic, strategic matters. For example, in R&D projects that are submitted to the DOST, approved, and then afterwards well monitored in terms of their results. You need the experts to provide that kind of oversight or expertise on the quality of the research that is being done and supported by the DOST so that not much goes to waste. So that's my final word for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Giselle, and shout out to Alvin and Joel Coelho for doing that great job in Leyte. Also, Gobet and Pocoy Dizon, our new partners in Bataan naman. Pocoy is in the audience, Ma'am Giselle, and everyone else, Arnel Salvador, Mel Gomez, and everyone that Ma'am Giselle mentioned. No, keep up the good work. And maybe that's a great suggestion. If the new infrastructure to be built by DOST will involve these fields, then we have those expertise that can be readily consulted by DOST. All right, thanks, Ma'am Giselle. I'll give the floor to Gobet for final words and just to close this panel discussion. Thanks, everyone.
Well, thank you, CP, for ably leading our panel. Of course, I would like to acknowledge everyone in the panel, Secretary Pernia, Yusek Gev, Giselle, Dr. Giselle Concepcion, Dr. Asi Rafika, Dr. Cheryl Monterola, and Richard, Dr. Richard Abindan. Richard, thank you so much for everything you've done with USAID Stride. So yeah, we've heard so many points. Just do it. Just do it. That's really what we need to do. Just do it. And like what Sec Pernia said, we're really behind, and we just have to solve beginning from yesterday. Really, it's a partnership. PAASE, by leading this example, by the initiatives we've had, and certainly many things we can recall, can be a willing and able partner in many initiatives with DOST and the government. And many of the suggestions that came out, working with industry, working with academe, starting with secondary education, really, we just have to do it. Now, in terms of focus, we have many strategies and areas to invest on. We have come out with the definition of specific areas of expertise and what we call stars. But in reality, in the Philippines too, we have a lot of stars. And of course, I'd like to acknowledge our PAASE co-lecture winners, Arnel and Kay. And there's a lot of willing hands in the Philippines too. And also they can acknowledge partnerships abroad that have allowed them to do some aspects of the work. So lahat naman tayo sama-sama, bayanihan spirit, di ba? So we just have to do it. So just do it. That's my last word.
Thanks, Gobet, and thanks everyone. And now we turn it over back to Mario and Mars who are in Baltimore. Thanks, everybody. May mga questions sa chat box if you want to answer some of them. Also very good points from our audience like sila Benji Vallejo and Danilo Largo and everybody. And thanks for all your support and comments. Okay, back to you, Mario.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for the very stimulating discussions. And we look forward to the fruits of these discussions. As Gobet said, just do it. Okay? And so with all of us working together, I'm sure we can accomplish a lot. So at this point, I just want to thank everyone. Mario is not here because he has to have, he is part of a parallel session. So we end the session now. And I hope that everyone goes to, there are three ongoing parallel sessions right now. Okay? So good night from Baltimore. And I guess it's good afternoon there in the Philippines, or good morning. Good night. All right, good night. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Sakyab.
Thanks, Kev.
Thank you, Mr. Kev. Thank you po.
Thank you. And Yusek, thank you.
Thanks, Gab.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.